Not a lot of magic damage in this comp, but I still think it's going to be an AD pick. The scaling Bel'Veth, we've seen before. Lee Sin is my pick, though, here. I think that Lee Sin is insanely strong here. Xin Zhao could also be very good for disengage, but it's like they've got their eyes on the Bel'Veth. Wukong is what they used last time, and it worked, I think, very well because of the setup for DRX. This time, they have way more appeal for the Wukong. They have a Sejuani, they have an Azir. Even Aatrox is going to really help deal with this Wukong, so I don't like this pick as much. And it isn't going to be very strong at making early plays either with this Sylas. Sejuani can match there in the mid 2v2. Top side, Aatrox has a lot more agency there. Sejuani going to be very well set up there. So Sejuani could bounce between top and mid very well. You're really looking for more power here as Live Sandbox on the bottom side of the map where you have that winning Lucian lane. We'll see if they can win it as hard as they did last time, but I do overall think this is a much better draft here for DRX than the version we saw of it last game.
Yeah, there's, you know, all that prio on the top side, and they still get Zeri Lulu. Really makes you wonder, like, where did it go wrong, you could say, in the draft? And really, you know, the Neela ban, I suppose, is one thing you could look at, but also the Kog'Maw ban. Last time around, we saw Zeri and Xayah banned in a similar spot, and that forced Deft to play Ezreal, you know, and they found a lot of luck with that. Different game, different situation in the draft, but I mean, you gave a lot of prio picks to the side of DRX, and you let them get Zeri Lulu again.
It's the same thing we saw from KT Rolster yesterday. It's just a vote of no confidence to DRX's mid-game, saying, I don't care if you play this Zeri comp, I don't care if it's Zeri Yuumi, I don't care if it's Zeri Lulu, I am not afraid of the late game because we will beat you before then. Liv Sandbox said the same thing that KT said yesterday. KT failed to close that one out, but Liv Sandbox look primed right now. Draft not as big of a gap for them this time around, however.
I'm definitely going to have to see this one play out. Let's see game number 4 on the Rift.
You would never make these calls, Valdez, to leave the Zeri open against T1, Gen G. You just wouldn't do it. You would never do that against the likes of players like Peanut, Owner, Ruler, Gumayusi, you know, and Deft. He's no weaker than Guma. In fact, he's had better performances than Guma in recent times. But it's getting the Zeri to the later parts of the game that has been the issue for DRX. Remember when he was on the Ezreal, they barely got him to get a few team fights there. It wasn't enough to win the game. Last game, barely got him to a few team fights there, but the game is so over before we get there. And both Liv Sandbox and KT Rolster have identified, whether it's Pioshik, whether it's Juhan, those names don't sound like Peanut and Oder. Those two names aren't ones that we necessarily would see both of them going into this regional finals. Zeka's had a little bit of a shaky time here on this Azir. I think Liv Sandbox are saying, yeah, against a stronger team, this draft is not great, but against DRX, I think we actually have everything we need.
It's kind of funny, Dev trying to shoot fish in a barrel here. Doing a decent job as Dove is just saying hello. This is just what you can do. Maybe try to force a smite or something, but not actually going to commit to it. But yeah, you know, all those things being said, I think you're exactly right, Wolf. I think it is kind of a read from these teams. I personally, I don't believe in it. I think that DRX were able to overcome KT due to some of that, due to some of the picks that were made in the draft, due to some of the way that the respect was not shown to the side of DRX. And also due to the consistency of DRX, you know? I think that DRX are certainly up against a stronger opponent in Liv Sandbox, even if it's just slightly. But they were able to do it in 5 games against KT, and I don't think they're going to go out just like this. And I think Deft is going to show us, and I think the team will be able to show us, and we go to a game number 5 again.
And my biggest thing in the change-up of these drafts is, first of all, it's Juhan who's playing, so that's been a thumbs up so far, but he's playing Sejuani, so he has a lot more power to get them through the mid-game than the Vi that Pioshik was on in the previous set. Obviously gave him a lot of agency against the Azir. They don't need that this time. This time they are the Azir in the Azir-Sylas matchup, so the Sejuani becomes a lot more potent. Isn't going to have to spend as much time there. Can actually help out this top matchup a little bit. And will be very good on objective fights coming up here very soon. So that's the one reason why I think the mid game should be smoother here for DRX this time around. And it's not going to look the same as what we saw last time. Also, I think, you know, we're not going to see Beryl get caught by a bubble. Stuff like that went
exactly.
wrong.
That's why it's like, okay, you're confident against Zeri Lulu, but also Beryl gifted you a kill. So, like, you know, was it about the Zeri Lulu or was it about the play? So, you know, all that being said, at Live Sandbox, they made their decision. And now I'm curious to see the way it's played out. As Juhan, once again, getting aggressive here. He's going to find Krako and smite away the blue again. Juhan will get the upper hand on Krako. Krako was able to beat Juhan once. That was in Game 2 when he had immense prio from bot.
Yeah.
Not the case right now.
This time they don't have that same amount of power, but he just comes over, checks it out, just takes a peek, steals it away with a smite. He's like, thanks, really appreciate that. He's going to go straight over here to the red buff, set up a ward, and could even make a pass if Dove wasn't backing here to gank topside, grab a scuttle on the way for double scuttle control.
Yep.
He's
double scuttle, steals away the blue, 3-buff double scuttle.
Sejuani's just so strong in the Wukong in these early parts of the game, can really match his farming, get on top of him when you have prio anywhere. And then if Krako isn't there, then you can set up a gank. Dove is walking back to lane here.
Seeing the results, definitely results-based analysis, which we play-by-play sometimes do, but I'm really happy, actually, that we saw prio pick for Juhan coming back in. They're like, okay, man, do it again. You know, win us an early game again. That's what we needed out of you. We're going to get you the Sejuani. We're going to get you a winning jungle matchup. And he's doing it again. It's great to see.
Yeah. If they ban Deft's Zeri, there are picks like the Xayah that could come out. There are picks like the Kog'Maw that could have come out. I don't know if I would put my bet on that one.
They could have banned Zeri Xayah, but instead they banned the Kog'Maw.
The Kog'Maw, I'm not 100% sure if that was really the right call in that particular case, but it's looking for the bubble play again here with Kyle. Get a nice trade, but no Aqua Prison this time. But yeah, I think that there are ways that Deft could have played other champions, but none of them are as vulnerable in the mid game as Zeri is. Remember that when Zeri first came out, she was much stronger than she is now, hilariously, and she was also counterpicked by things like Caitlyn Lux a lot. And then we started to see Callista come back. We saw Draven come back. We even saw a little bit of Varus for a little bit there. And
we've seen it in other regions, even in modern times, in recent times, but not in Korea.
But now that Zeri is much more figured out, it's not about winning the lane. It's not about getting these Caitlyn picks through. It's just about winning mid-game teamfights or forcing Drake leads now that Drakes are buffed. And Live Sandbox and KT at the end of the season were both so incredibly good at getting those mid-game leads. You know, for Live Sandbox, often around mid and bot. For KT Rolster, mid and top. And then aiming was a great late-game powerhouse. Okay, ult committed, double 6.
Yeah, Dove getting in here. He's going to finish the grand challenge. Does he have the extended damage, though? Not quite. Kingen having teleports. He should know where the enemy junglers, though. Like, Krako has just spotted bots, so he might be able to just stick around here, and he is going to take that chance, if you can even call it that. Pretty safe to just farm here under the turret.
Yeah, doesn't really lose anything. Krako seen on a ward. Zeka's very patiently set up here. Waiting for a dash. Krako's level 4, so he's not really worried about a thing.
Once again here, Dove aggressive. Kingen hasn't TP'd yet, very importantly. Dove now riposts down.
It's really well played. He gets another stab here with a lunge, and when he has flash, Juwan's coming over. Kingen's trying to bait this, sell this really hard. He's like, yeah, dash at me in the bush. You know I'm in here. Yeah. Sejuani comes over.
They're trying to bait it. Oh. Okay, there's the World Ender trying to get on it as Dove, still with flash available, is just going to be a clear here in the top side. No kills coming through.
Sejuani connecting there with a melee champ. Dove reacts very quickly. And we'll get away without having to use a flash. Pretty massive. Nice setup. Nice attempt there from Juwan. Really liked how they tried to trick Dove, but he will not be fooled.
Uh-oh. Polymorph is huge, but immediate cleanse does come out. Prince really trying to force the issue here, and they will trade heavily up here in favor of the bottom side of Lucian Nami, as Juhan is so annoying.
Yeah, half of his health bar gone. Juwan doesn't have level 5, or is on level 5 here, just barely gets 6, as we're saying it, and If he, had 6, maybe could have tried to commit further on that top side play, try to force a flash out of Dove. But as it stands, it's just going to go straight over to this Rift Herald. Prio to Zeka in mid. Croco sees this. And we'll see. I mean, it's just Prince and Kyle trying to hold down bottom side here, but they're not getting plate pressure. So this is huge for DRX if they can actually take this away. They will back off of it. And Closer's going to go ahead and clear this wave and come over. It's very nice of them for a moment there with the control they had, but they will just have to give it away. Prince and Kyle, of course, rotating up.
And DRX, I mean, you remember the way that the game turned immediately on the second Rift Heralds. I would imagine they will be a lot more apprehensive to fight over these ones, even though they do have, some of those prio picks on the top side that they did choose in the draft. Not going to be able to make it happen for the first Rift Herald. That one will go over to Croco.
Look at the amount of lost minions here for Closer. He clears this wave up, but he's starting to find himself significantly behind in CS. Zeka's landing really well here, and Croco on the Wukong isn't able to make the same amount of threat as a Vi pre-6 did, of course, on the opposite side in this matchup last time around. So we can see why Azir is picked into Sylas so often, so confidently, and this time in the face of a Sylas pick. So a little bit of extra pride there, a little bit of extra gold for this Azir. This time around, DRX haven't been able to group up for objectives. They have a little bit of extra gold in that mid lane. You could see it in the charts there. You could see it in the CS numbers. But they're going to need more than that.
It's another Cloud Drake start here, which is kind of insane. We did have Cloud Soul in Game 2, but other than that, it's just been Infernals all the way. We could get a third one potentially in this one. It would really help DRX if they were able to take that first Drake, but you can see that they're not quite able to. The pressure from the bottom side of Live Sandbox a bit too much, as they will once again take control for now.
The mid CS lead isn't going to translate to objectives, so you have that going for you, but you haven't been able to translate that prio into a fight because your bottom lane is locked down. It's a Sejuani, and could try to commit to ganking the Sylas, but he's just laning safely here. Closer's just making sure he's not actually vulnerable. Nice trade for Kingin. And Live Sandbox, they also do need to eventually take this Drake, or the Zeri is just getting free farm here. Ahead in CS, of course, just very slightly here is Def. But right now, everything is going way better than the last game around in terms of getting that Zeri to 2 items here. We haven't even gotten the first just yet, but Live Sandbox need to be getting Drake pressure, and like right now, Croco's hanging around, but they're going to get the first Drake.
Yeah, just the difference made in the jungle and mid has naturally earned DRX a 1,000 gold lead already in this game. 11 minutes in, there's no kills, and to get that kind of lead like this with this comp feels fantastic. The Rift Herald, of course, it has not been dropped, so maybe Live Sandbox can eat away at some of that, but like I said before, you take away that first Drake, you're buying yourselves a lot of time.
5 minutes.
It's so nice as Croco trying to avoid that vision, but they see them anyway.
What do they react?
Yeah, second ward as well.
Yeah, he's going to get out of here.
He also has Crown. Very safe. Once again, takes longer to hit your spike, but you're going to survive a lot.
If they do break it, he's just going to try to clear these minions up as best as he can. Wants to poke the eye, not going to commit all the way. Crash goes through. Extra money over to the Wukong and the Sylas here. And, I mean, this slow, boring game is actually really great for DRX, as we were saying. The jungle gap, you mentioned it, how much CS he has there over this Wukong is just a completely opposite story of Croco last game, where he had such a lead that he got a very fast second item GA and was able to run around the map. He won't be able to say that this time around. He's going for that Sunderer start, obviously, so he can break through some of these health bars. But, I mean, if something doesn't change here for Live Sandbox on this second Drake, it's starting to feel kind of doomed, actually. And going back to what you were saying about, probably shouldn't have banned the Zeri. Well, if the game states like this, you're starting to get very worried about what Deft is going to be able to do later on.
That's the thing, like, you got that kill onto the Lulu, you were able to extend your lead very heavily, and the players, they're very confident. Prince and Kyle have been insane in the majority of the games we've watched them play, and they got a lead in the last one. They're probably like, we'll do it again. Leave it up, we'll crush them. But instead, it's just even. and it's just Deft getting free farm. Nothing's happening. The Zarya's getting fed, the Azir's getting fed. And of course, Live Sandbox, they have some scaling components as well, but it just means that this game is not going to look anything like game number 3. It's going to be a lot more even going into the mid-game.
Zeri having the ability to poke with Extendo Beam with IE this game is going to be a very huge problem. And I think considering the state of the game, we'll see what happens in the next few fights. I don't want to call the third item this early, but might be able to even buy IE third this time around. And the slow plus the extra damage just affords DRX such a massive range advantage going in. And Sylas engaging is so difficult into this comp because there's so much to run into. That was very scary for Dove if he gets hit by those chains. Might be lights out.
Yeah. Clip's finished. King in, you see that he's doing a pretty good job in this matchup. You know, again, pretty even. It hasn't really been about the top lane. Junglers have kind of looked up there a couple of times, but not much else for that lane. We'll see if, you know, this might be a game where we actually get to see whether or not Dove can prove himself. Didn't really get a chance to in game 3 because the game ended before the Fiora really mattered.
He did some side laning, you know, he did some Fiora things in the lane.
It's decent.
He won lane, but it was the smallest win ever, so it wasn't really significant. I mean, what he did for the comp in the 1-3-1 was pretty huge, but it was kind of, it wasn't that, like, impressive, let's say. It was correct, but the game kind of played itself out at that point, and this time it's going to be, I think, a lot more about him in the late game. As Krako.
Opportunity as immediately he's thrown under the turret. Krako is just going to die. Gets flashed on, and first blood goes to Zeka. And guess who's here now? It's Juhan, right in position to alley-oop that kill up to them. 2 kills in the 2v2 for DRX.
I mean, that's the, okay, we're not done yet, because Dove's going to grand challenge here. King using the wall to block him out. Yeah. Well, it's a trade of ultimates here, but this is a Live Sandbox moment where you see Krako commit into an Azir, and he's got ult, he's like, got flash.
He gets antsy. He's like, I gotta do something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Live Sandbox is like, man, we are just giving this away. This game is too slow. The pace of the game is too slow, and sometimes we're critical of this team because we're like, oh, your comp is a late game comp. Why are you forcing this? This time, that's not the case. This time, they need to find something, anything. It's what we've been talking about so much for the last basically 15 minutes of nothingness because it's been such a slow-paced game that he feels antsy, like you say, pulls the trigger here with the Sylas follow-up, but Zeka just instantly says no. He's got Crown, he had Flash, and he had Emperor's Divide. Yeah. And the positioning was also really good. Zeka's like, my Emperor's Divide is not just going to save me, but it's going to kill you.
Yeah, he was under turret. I mean, Krako, he must have had Flash, right? Like, he didn't use it. He still has it. He just thought he would survive. He's like, oh, we're doing a play, we're doing a boom boom. It was not a thing. It was not a thing this time around. Dove now it might feel the wrath of Juhan once again. Let's see the riposte. Nope, just a flash. Dove will have to get rid of that one.
We're talking about teams making 2 junglers work earlier. You know, it reminds me of Blank, reminds me of some of the legends of old. We've seen some lesser legends, players like Willer and Johan subbing in and out from On Real Life in a very similar situation in the Gauntlet last year. But man, Juhan has just been so good. He's been such an upgrade. It's crazy. It makes you wonder, like, what DRX could have done if this guy was playing all season. And, I mean, on stage 1 in particular, he's just so massively ahead. He's everywhere. He's pushing Dove out of this lane. He's making an impact mid. He stops the Krako gank. He's making sure this Prince Kyle lane can't actually push down plates.
Yeah, it's like you said in game number 1, where it's like sometimes you just give a player an opportunity that's been sitting on the bench this whole time, and he's going to fly with it, because he needs to. It's his life on the line as a pro player, as Zeka gives the thumbs up. He's like, yeah, cool story, bro. Krako tries to flash in, hating Zeka's guts right now, no doubt. And Zeka is just having a great time.
We are on the trajectory for the Valdez 3-2 scoreline at least. You know, I mean, right now DRX is so ahead, it's hard to put into words because the more and more time that goes by here, the Sandbox are losing control of the map. And yeah, they get second Drake here as
first gank.
First gank here. Crown, he has to break. Cyclones after he's shoved in. Like, this was
full
just
health.
Out of the frying pan into the fire kind of moment here when they also just stick around as Juhan rotates over, and I mean, Zeka just made that look silly. Made the idea of a gank seem preposterous. And he's now 1,700 gold up. Remember last time, the Azir in the matchup was closer, and we had so much more pressure there. Pioshik constantly surfing around on Vi. The Wukong just not able to do the same thing. Even post 6 when you're positioning this well.
So he already has Nashor's Tooth.
Yeah.
Already. There's another Flash. Juhan is like the Flash collector, man. He's like, I've got all the Flashes in my pocket right now. I'll take top, jungle, and mid. Thank you very much.
I mean, they're going to set up a Sundisk turret here and siege the inner, and I think, frankly, considering that the outer is already down top, like, this is a completely realistic option.
Now, I mean, Sejuani ult taken. Krako can't do anything. He did not have Cyclone.
When you put up the Sundisk like this and you set up for a siege, when the top turret is down and there's no real trade-off, like, Dove pushes in, but he cannot actually threaten a turret because he will be collapsed on. This is good macro play from DRX using the Azir Sundisk. It's been a tale as old as time, as old as Azir's passive. And the Sandbox is falling prey to it because they don't have strong engage. They're flashless. Krako used his ultimate, and
I feel
DRX is playing with their food at this point, it feels like.
They have like a couple of ways to engage, but both of those ways are so far behind that neither of them want to engage. Both the Wukong and the Sylas are like, yeah, we're just kind of getting wrecked by the other 2v2. The entire game, there's not much happening. There's only 2 kills, but the 2v2 diff has been so gigantic. The top lane doesn't matter. The bottom lane, very even. And it's just been all about Zeka and Juhan over Closer and Krako this time around.
Yeah, and that means that the mid game, remember we talked about Live Sandbox pick this draft because they're like, your mid game is just not good. It hasn't been good. You know, it's been better in the last 2 best of 5s you played, but we feel confident. That is not working out this time around when Juhan is actually just getting so ahead in the jungle that your mid game doesn't exist as Live Sandbox. And at least they got the second Drake here, but the first Drake going over to DRX means 5 minutes of extra time. You're not threatening Soul Point in this next fight. DRX, I think, are starting to feel pretty confident to fight, but they don't have to either. And with the Azir having 2 items, he's going to become a side lane threat. Knows where he is on the map right now, knows where Closer is. He's trying to match these rotations, doesn't want to use his teleports down, but it's going to cost him a lot of health on this turret. A lot of CS going down. Zeka's like, I'm Nashor's Tooth, baby. I got it early. I'm killing turrets. We're going to Game 5. Where are you at, Live Sandbox? You're absent in this game.
So what you were talking about in Game 3, I think, the last game, where it's like, okay, you've got this Azir, you've got the Nashor's Tooth, but you do not exist in a side lane. There's nothing happening. You were not getting any value. Maybe it wasn't Game 3. I think it was Game 2 where he was playing it. But either way, now we see.
Now he is.
Because he hit it at 18 minutes into the game. It's like insane the pressure that he has. It's Hextech Soul as well, which means that not only the ability haste for everybody, basically, but also just the attack speed for Azir and Zeri alone. It's going to be insane. Actually matters a lot in this one. PD finished for Zeri, for Deft here. And
Prince has a rapid fire cannon, but
Zeka got a needlessly large rod and a Morello's Oblivion Orb here. Just got everything.
Yep. Liv Sandbox trying to push this turret down with the Demolish here, and King and Goodbye time is a TP.
Okay, looks like they will get this turret, but the Drake should be free, although it doesn't look like DRX are going right for it.
Well, they can clear mid, and again, Zeka is getting free farm bottom.
Now
so they have a lot of control. Look at his experience lead now, 2 levels up on Closer. He just keeps getting further and further ahead, and this is split turret gold here on an outer that doesn't lead to any objective control, like you say. And DRX, free Drake here, Juhan rotates over after they push mid, and Kingdon is also not dropping experience. See if he dies here to the Cyclone over the wall.
We might see their first engage. Nope, not gonna happen.
I mean, it's Kingdon, he has Sterax, so if you commit an ultimate here, like if Krako goes over the wall and Cyclone's there, Cyclone's down, then maybe DRX just rush over to Baron, because Zeka has TP, and then you actually turn this around and you get an early Baron too. Like, he doesn't pull the trigger there, Krako, because he's nervous about what it means if the Aatrox survives and buys enough time. But if you make no choice Deft's on PD. He's picking up money in mid. He's freely farming under no threats into the comp that Live Sandbox is running, mind you, which should not be the case. Look at these. We talked about CS diff before. Look at where Closer's at right now. 2 levels down, 70 CS behind.
Yeah, and it really did come down to Croco trying to make something happen. It's hard to blame him, but you know, he had to try to find an angle. It was not the Azir in that moment, so I suppose that's where the blame could be found. But just like that, just one turnaround play in the 2v2, and that's pretty much all that's happened. You know, outside of that, it's just been a natural lead grown here by DRX as they have control over the Sparrow, but the Scuttle Crab was taken. And, you know, a lot of times in so many matchups in the LCK, we could talk about, okay, well, this Fiora eventually is going to be a huge problem. Maybe this really is Dove's redemption arc. Maybe this is the one where he finally turns it around and proves, okay, the side lane Fiora is going to be a huge threat and really get into the heads of DRX.
You can't do it without vision, right? And remember last time he tried to push the advantage on the bottom side, he was punished, and I think he's probably remembering that. Look at the way where they are right now. He's like, oh, I'm getting flashbacks to the last game.
Turret's still available. He needs a third item, too, to really begin to threaten the Aatrox.
He has a control ward this time, at least, so he won't be completely bamboozled by anybody, if anyone was down there.
See that right now, the pressure in that lane is being put on by King. So the split pushing pressure does not exist.
I mean, he has played Stokap, Sterak's, and a stopwatch.
Okay, nice little try here from Juhan, but this guy's got a dash, so he will not collect this one as he tries to get it there, and a flash into Wild Growth taken by Prince. Nice little fight back as Croco's over the wall. He will just back away.
This is, you know, we talked about the power of Lucian at blowing people up. Usually it's not the tank he takes down, but forcing out a flash here.
Zeri's here.
Yeah.
Deft trying to collect. He goes over the wall as the extended beam not going to land. Dove is dashing away. Here comes Prince as well, so no committal to the kill.
So much damage coming through there for the Zerial.
Oh, man. This round gets massive value, but can Zeka get out is the question. He is going to flash and separate, and now to Kyle! Kyle's like, oh god, no, please not me! He's just gonna flash away from that one as Juhan is incredibly tanky, but can he survive against all of this damage? No, he cannot!
DRX gotta be careful about committing this far forward here on the top side of the map while also trying to look for the Zeri dive bottom side. You're spreading yourself very thin here. And remember, Juhan didn't have ultimate there, didn't have flash because he used it just moments before, so committing that hard there, definitely a bit of an overextension. At least Zeka does survive, keeps that 400 gold bounty. Giving that over would have been disastrous. But Live Sandbox relieving all the pressure here. Now Dove trying to trade aggressively bottom side.
Yeah, now he certainly can. He's going to get the Demolished proc. Lots of damage there under the turret, even threatening Kingin, who is nearly... Okay, he does get stunned there right at the tip.
He knows Kingin doesn't have ult, and he does, so with no one else down here. Prince coming down, in fact, with this Hextech gate. They're going to try to catch him. I think they will.
Oh, this is a dead King, and he's about to have World Ender, and he does commit to the flash. He's on the run. The Sterix trying to get him out of here, and a ton of damage traded back. And there's 3 people bot.
They're going to do Baron.
This is Baron for DRX. It should be. Croco is nearby, though.
Croco nearby closer over here, too, but the damage is real.
They have insane Baron damage. Kingin is trying to kill Prince, who flashes forward to his death. Kingin takes him down in the 1v2. And now TP's coming in just to try to kill an Aatrox.
Yeah, he's just running away.
Baron.
He's already a winner. Oh, the tidal wave committed. He gets over the wall. He's just buying more and more time. He wants to keep his Baron buff.
Okay, well, he's going to die here, but he did his job.
He did more than just his job at
it. So much time.
He traded back a kill onto Prince. Prince is off the map here, and things have just gone from bad to worse here for Live Sandbox. It's the one time Dove tries to be a hero, the one time they try to commit onto the Aatrox. He just barely gets his ult up. He's got the flash, buys tons of time, has Sterak's. He had stopwatch. Doesn't need it. It's not going to change the way that last exchange goes. He still gets to keep that for the next fight. And Live Sandbox losing Prince there means that even though Kingin dies late, he has TP. He's going to be up in 15. Live Sandbox can't even, despite temporary control over this Dragon Pit, set up for a 5v5 here. Yep. Prince is so far away.
Dove going to be spotted and shooed out of that one as, okay, that's actually going to hit Croco. He was coming out here, a little speed up from Nami, but yeah, it should be a free Drake Over to the side of DRX, you see that Croco just backing away. Finally going to pick up his, what, second blue buff of the game?
And remember, we talked about Deft being able to go straight to IE, given the state of the game, and that's coming online very soon. As we're going to watch this one more time, Zeka buying so much time with Crown, the extremely long dash here after Flash. And okay, we're going back into live.
Now we're in here, teleports coming on in. Croco isolated, Closer gonna leave him to the Wolves. As he's over the wall, looks to be an eventual free kill over to Deft here on the top side, or rather the bottom lane.
Yeah, I want to watch what's happening on the top side too, because DRX are winning on both fronts here, despite being a man down on the right side. Why was he here? We don't know. The Drake was already taken. He's trying to flank.
Yeah, he flashed to try to get on top of the Zeri. That's never going to work.
That's never going to work here. And he's down. DRX win the fight over here. 3v3 because Fiora's mid. Dump's trying to get value elsewhere, but it's going to be a turret for a turret here.
It's Baron buff for 50 seconds.
And they're going to probably trade this for an inhibitor.
I mean,
what are you doing, Fiora? You got to be back. But I mean, you're Fiora. You have no function if you defend. You just have to trade turrets, but you're losing the trade here. I think we are vastly on track for a game 5 right now, as Dub's going to try to trade this now for an inner at least, but he will be denied by the teleport here from Zeka. What do you do? I want to go back to the Croco replay because...
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, this is King, and he's going to try to do Aatrox things. Nice stopwatch. Will be used by Closer, and eventually Kyle picks up the kill. I suppose maybe he can build a Void Staff again, unfortunately. which he did build earlier. Yeah, again, it does not work for the Nami.
Sterak's going to buy him a lot of time. We're going to go back to this heroic moment where he actually kills Prince. Prince flashes forward here, trying to get over the kill, but unfortunately, that's not going to win you that exchange, even with a Nami here. Crowd goes wild. King gets over the wall, buys a ton of time. This is Croco on the backside of this fight, trying to flank, but the objective is already taken. And so this just feels very puzzling. He's flanking for a fight they shouldn't be taking. Look at where Dove is on the mini-map. He's nowhere nearby. He's just going straight to mid after this. And yeah, they will flash for this play. This is a nice aggressive play. Stopwatch is great. Kingen has in his ear turret, but it's not going to be enough to save him. But map control just wholly going over to DRX again from this play bottom side. They get the inhibitor. And bounties are still up here for Live Sandbox, but it's not about the gold anymore. It's about the composition and how it functions.
Yeah. I think the only way Live Sandbox can win a team fight from here is in a really scrappy fight, you know? Zeri's really good at that, but you think about Lucian, Silas, Wukong, even the Fiora in some fights, they love it when it gets really scrappy, like 2v2s, and somebody gets isolated, stuff like that. So maybe if they could try to make the scheme really kind of, you know, get down and dirty with it, you know, yeah, romantic, if you will. And maybe that's the way, because sitting back and not doing much and getting full build on Zeri and Azir is not going to do them any good.
The problem, Valdez, is that every time they've tried to make proactive plays, it has really come back to bite them massively. The two big attempts from Croco, both falling flat. He is 0-2 on his KDA. And those were 2 attempts to, in the mid lane, look for the Zeka pick, which cost him his life. This time trying to flank, or the second time trying to flank Deft, it looked like there on the bottom side of the map, set up for a team fight collapse. He dies. I mean, Zeka is level 18. He has 400 CS. Prince will just die. Prince is usually like the Azir is usually supposed to be a little bit afraid of the Lucian. Like, oh, Lucian might zip forward, Gale Force me, and blow me up. You know, got to be very careful about that. Not in this game state. No, he's not. He's not afraid of anything. He's like, Prince, you better be ready to flash if you're in range of auto-attacking me.
Yeah, I mean, the story has really just been about Zeka and Juhan in the mid and early parts of this game. That's where the big leads has been taken here. It's 4-3 in kills. And Deft just quietly this whole time farming up, hits his item spikes. He has stopwatch. He's ready for his LDR next. Let's see. I mean, Croco's going to try to make it dirty once again. He's going to try to look for the Omega flank. And... you know,
the Omega flank is so true.
It feels pretty desperate, but desperate times call for desperate measures. This is actually one of those times.
He's
on a mission.
Yeah, he has
I don't know where he's going now.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have a sweeper anymore. not going to be able to clear up vision and.
He's like goping himself. He's like,
I mean,
yeah, I'm here. I did it, guys.
Let's address the elephant in the room. He doesn't have a good choice he can make. The game state is so favoring DRX that he has to make crazy long con plays like this to try to clear vision. He's on a trinket.
It's going to look silly. It always will.
It will. And now he's going to die. Very likely here.
Yeah. Gets spotted out. There was just too much trinket vision on the bottom side. Okay, he's going to flash, but polymorph immediately. So Lulu coming in big, even commits to the stopwatch, just trying to buy some time. And you know what? He does buy an incredible amount of time. Second gets so low and has to go into the stopwatch. Now it's Prince's time. He's going in. There's the Emperor's Divide, though, and Deft has got a massive angle here as he will eventually take him down. Dove, it's the grand challenge, as meanwhile, the base, you see Jonas trying to show us that. Dove now trying to get in there, gonna miss the riposte, does an incredible amount of damage to Deft, and is still going to live.
Closer heads home. Liv Sandbox trying to run back and defend here. And it's going to be Hextech Soul going over to DRX. Kyle is so low. Dove cannot fight. No ultimate anymore.
Kyle with the bubble. Kyle with the bubble. Nope, not going to happen.
A bubble and a dream.
Good timing.
And Krako's flank is successful. The long con play is successful. Setting up for.
He's making it greasy.
If it's a even game state, this looks so much better. If it's an even game state, this actually is great because Nami's rotating over with Tidal Wave. Zeka's going to take a ton of damage here, but unfortunately, it's 3-item Zeri. You know, this is a fight that you could win against a lot of different AD carries, but Deft is like, yo, against Zeri in a choke point? Me? Deft? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they do everything they can. They get Zeka here. Dove gets the kill, 1,000 gold in his pockets. He's level 18, but...
He lives. And, okay, grand challenge on the bottom side, but okay. Prince is dead, but let's take a look at King in. Nope, Deft just frontlining. That's going to be the Zeri ultimate stolen for closer, as he is going to get the GA, I suppose, and he does Kingslayer here, but at the end of the day, it's Deft, and it is DRX. They will be bringing us the Silver Scrapes. Dove desperate to try to get this one and stop it. He does have the GA. He does have a riposte and a dream. He's getting in there, but it's not enough. 5 members of DRX will live and push down the mid lane.
Another Game 5 in Korean regional qualifiers. We've seen it in our region. We've seen it in the LPL. These series are going down to the wire. We've got 4 seeds here. We thought maybe this would be the season we send 2 relatively unknown names. Liv Sandbox never in Worlds. KT Rolster, of course, a name we haven't seen in Worlds for years, but DRX are saying, no, it's us again. They're bringing it to Game 5, and they're keeping their chances alive after we saw that extremely one-sided game. They didn't lose their composure. Pyoshik is subbed out. Juhan's back in. He makes all the difference in the world.